All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining in. We'll get started momentarily. All right. Thanks so much for joining in. Um, let's get us live on to Instagram. Oh, wait, no. Right. All right. Let's get started on Instagram. Thank you all so much for joining in. Get ready for a really great, impactful conversation. All right. Um, bear with us. All right, here we go. Right. Okay, here we go on Instagram. We should be live on Instagram. Thank you all so much for joining in. Our second edition of our Career Journeys Exploration with Coach Stella. I am joined here by the lovely Miss NG Moses, and she is getting ready to drop some gems on her journey as a registered nurse is her career. But before we get into Miss NG and hearing her career journey, I want to welcome folks into this space. Coach Stella, my pronouns are she, hers. I'm a senior consultant with Diversity at Workplace, along with a whole host of other jobs in my personal and professional life. But in this segment, I want to center the work that I do with Diversity at Workplace. Couple things that I want to keep folks posted on that we have going on within our organization. One, we are starting a grassroots effort to remind employers and leaders that where we work and where we shop matters. And so before we get started this morning or during this lunch hour, for those of you who are on the East Coast Standard Time, I want to encourage you all to take a screenshot of this, pull out your camera, log into this petition, read all about it. This is a grassroots effort that we're starting within Diversity at Workplace to remind organizations and their leadership that where we work and where we shop matters. So sign the petition. It is confidential. Where we work, we want to make sure that we are seen, valued, and heard. There's a lot of rumble out there that talks about inclusion and belonging and equity, and diversity shouldn't matter, but it does. And the research shows that it is impactful for everyone. So we want to send a message, remind folks that where we work, where we shop matters. So log in, sign the petition, pass it on. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. It is confidential, but let's make some noise out here for each milestone. For as more signatures we collect, the more CEOs and organizations that will reach out to, letting them know, hey, we still value this. We still want to be seen and heard. So let's continue to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Miss Envy, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me today to talk through your journey. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning, afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be on this platform and get to talk with you about my career and about my life.
Yes,
Yes,
all the things,
all the
definitely
things.
all the things. Nothing Well, nothing to your based on your comfort level off limits. So, but if I ask a question,
Okay.
you're like, you know what, we're not going to go there. Please feel free. All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Well, so I have some questions that I would like to kick things off. Definitely want to, for of those in the audience that have questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. We're streaming in multiple platforms here, so I should be able to see your questions for NG. So just feel free to send them along. If we don't get to them, I promise to reach out to you after our time today and get you the answers and resources that you're looking for. All right. So with that, Miss NG, let me dive into the first question, which essentially is tell us about yourself, your background, anything you would like folks to know about you.
I so my name is NG. I am a wife and a mother of two lovely little children. We live in Houston, Texas, specifically Fulshire. Um, I am a registered nurse. I work in the operating room, and my specialty is heart surgery. I've been in this field for about 12 years, and I really love it. And um, I've done it long enough where I'm able to work and feel fulfilled at work and still have that home work-life balance. I grew up uh, Nigerian household. I'm Nigerian by heritage. I'm first generation American. So I also grew up in America my whole life, but with Nigerian cultural background and values, and that have helped me along the way to be successful in my career, I would have to say. And yeah, I that's all I can really that's a good start of where I am.
Yes, yes, and thank you for talking through your background and cultural background growing up in a Nigerian household. So I was my first guest, and I told the viewers, outside I was African American, Black American, but inside I was in a Nigerian household.
It's an awakening for sure. It's a nice reminder.
A nice reminder. Yeah, so let's unpack that a little bit. So you talked about growing up in a Nigerian household. You're in Houston now, but I know you grew up in Georgia. Born and
Yeah, I
raised
grew
in
up in Georgia.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So talk to me about your childhood. Is what did you want to be when you grew up as a child? And what were some things that you leaned on to help visualize that for you?
So growing up, I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I knew that I wanted to help people. I was interested in, illnesses and people getting better generally. It was a rewarding thing for me. Just for some background, my mom was also a nurse, floor nurse, and my father owned a business working on cars and auto parts and that sort of thing. Um, I think I was kind of looking towards to being a doctor, medical doctor, and it was encouraged. And it's if anybody's Nigerian of Nigerian descent, they know that it's it's often suggested or encouraged to go the medical doctor route and go to med school and all those things. So that was kind of the plan. So
Mhm.
I went for that plan and the goal throughout my high school, college. College is where it got to a point where do I want this specific uh, position for myself to do this job that I'll be happy in, or do I want to step out of healthcare completely and do something else? And it got to that point. Just and after doing a lot of the courses and classes and just shadowing and seeing what they do for a living, I had to really ask myself and kind of it felt like I was going against my parents' dreams and wishes, but you have to live life for yourself, and that's what I did. I had to pick up that phone in my dorm room and tell my parents, I don't really want to do med school, but I still want to be in healthcare. What can I do? And
Mm.
I did. I and I didn't know in the world of nursing that you can do so many things. So I was able to just put my foot in and, get through the doors. And then from there, I did my research and found out that there's so much you can do with
Mm.
that, you know.
I
So
I
yes,
love
healthcare, I've
you.
always wanted to do that.
Yeah, so healthcare was definitely in your vision since childhood, right? And then it wasn't
Yes.
until, so, your parents being your parents was like, okay, healthcare, doctor. Um,
Yeah.
I know we chuckle about this, but in the Nigerian culture, and most will argue most immigrant cultures, in most immigrant
Yeah.
families, there's the three professions: doctor, lawyer, engineer. Anything else
Yes.
is people
You got to prove yourself.
are
You essentially have to prove you're going to be working uphill. Like if you came to them, I remember just Yvonne Orji, for example, when said she had to come to her parents to tell them that she wanted to be an actress or do comedy. They were just not convinced. But once you can prove to them that you can be successful and prove to yourself that you can, be the best and do the best and achieve high, records, then it's like, all right, you've gained our approval, and that
yeah,
that in and of itself is rewarding.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, so you went to college, you had this awakening, and I love how you said you were dipping your toes in things. You were doing. It sounds like you were doing some shadow work, and you were getting putting yourself
Yeah.
into these roles to see
I
what it would be like.
Yes, I got a little job at our local pharmacy, at our Kroger pharmacy, as a farm tech.
Okay.
I even tried to change career paths from pre-med, that's a pre-medical student role, to doing respiratory therapy. So they had a respiratory therapy program at my school, and I was like, maybe I'll try that. And there was some budget cuts in the university at the time. They were threatening to cut the program. So it's like the plan that I had was just crumbling. Do I go to another university? Do I pick another career? It was just all kind of frustrating. And it's funny enough, I was sitting in my dorm, like kind of sad about it, tearful, and my a friend of mine was there, and she looked at my transcript and saw that I had enough requirements to apply to nursing school. So I said, I don't want to do that. I don't. There's only one kind of nursing that I know, and I don't want to do that kind of nursing. And you know, um, she was like, you should just try to apply. So this was about halfway through the year. This was end of getting close to end of spring semester. So usually when you want to start to apply to a school or a program, you have to start quite early, months in advance. So I sat down in front of my computer, looked up all the schools in Georgia that offered a nursing program, and I got my list up to about 20 and went down the requirements of each school, was crossing the ones I'm not applicable for and the ones I missed the deadline, and then narrowed it down to like two schools.
Hey.
And I visited both, one in North Georgia, one in South Georgia, and the one in North Georgia wasn't for me. I picked the one in South Georgia. It was a small, up and coming bachelor's program, nursing program, and I said yes to the program, and they accepted me as well. And that's where I was able to do my nursing program. And then that's when I started to do more research. I realized you can do so much in the world of nursing,
Yeah, yeah,
and I didn't have to do
absolutely.
one nursing.
So talk to me about that. So you said you are an operation, you're a nurse in the operation operating
Yes,
room.
operating room. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So what did that path look like? And is it different than how you describe other forms of nursing?
so I I was given the opportunity during my clinicals in nursing school to um, sh- follow. We follow our patients, so they typically keep nursing students on the floor in the unit where, like a med surge floor, which is a unit where just Patients are somewhat mildly sick and they just need everyday care and continuous care, but that nurse may have like maybe 4 or 5 patients at a time. But regardless, I, as a nurse student, was assigned to one patient. That patient was due for surgery. I think he had a clot or they call it a thrombus from a IV that got blown or wasn't working. So you have to go down to surgery to remove the clot. So I followed the patient down to a different unit. It was interesting. People were wearing like head coverings and wearing masks, and it was kind of cold. And we go into this room where the world was just it was a different world than what I was used to in the whole hospital. So they started surgery. You meet the surgeon. The surgeon's asking you questions. It's kind of an intimidating experience, but I was kind of living for it because it was just different. It kind of shifted me, and I met the nurses in the operating room, and they were telling me about what it was like working there and having one-to-one patient care. And I think the help you see is very invasive, and it's rewarding and it's immediate, you know, helping patients and fixing them because you're either taking something out or putting something in, and when you're done, they're off to the next recovery, and you're on to the next patient, you know. So I
Yeah.
felt like that was a little bit more for me. I think being the daughter of a nurse and daughter of a mechanic, it felt like this fixing and seeing and, you know, working under the hood kind of thing, where it
Yeah.
still has a nurse role. So it feels like a merge of the two jobs that parents did for a living. Sometimes I think of it like that. That's what piqued my interest in it. Um, and I like the one-on-one care, so I'm able to devote my whole care, my whole attention to the one patient versus where only on the floor you have several patients, which I don't condemn at all, but it's not always easy to divide your care amongst 5 different, you know, patients, for example, and I
Yeah.
commend the nurses that do it every day. But, when I got my first experience and I was open to that world, you know, I came back to my class asking my teachers, so people can work in the operating room or nurses can work in the operating room. That's an option. They were like, yeah, there's all sorts. There's flight nursing, you know, aesthetics nursing. And I just knew that me being exposed to that OR catapulted my dream of, okay, let's change the let's change the goals of how do we get there. Which I found out later is a specialized um, career path. So you get your bases on regular nursing and regular learning, and once you've gotten that, you can move forward to specialties like uh, surgical nursing. So yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking about my goddaughter, shout out Jalen. And honestly, Jalen and a whole host of other cousins are the reasons why I created this platform because they
Okay.
have an idea of what they want to go into, but not sure of what to specialize
Yeah.
in. And nursing is something that she wants to pursue her master's in, but wasn't really sure what area to focus in. And I was
Yeah.
trying to do my due diligence and find internship opportunities or shadowing opportunities. But I came across a roadblock, and I heard one person that did reach back out to me said, you know, once she gets in, then we'll, you know, she'll get exposed to so many
Yeah.
different
There's
areas.
opportunities. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it sounds
sure.
like
And you
that.
kinda have to be a go-getter as well. You gotta keep your eyes open, your ears open as well, listening for any kind of, um, shrivel of opportunity, you know,
Mm,
and sometimes it comes down to just asking, like, "Hey, I wanna be exposed to different types of nursing. What opportunity do you have for me to shadow, volunteer?" You know, that volunteer is another way to get your leg in the door and to see things you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
and when you say put yourself out there, are you talking to like professors, faculty, administrators?
Yes, same exactly. If you're already in the nursing program, you're familiarizing yourself with faculty, staff, clinical instructors. Once you are paired with a nurse who's already doing it, so maybe you're at the clinical site and you're paired with a nurse. That's your opportunity to ask all the questions. You meet the manager. Hey, here's my information, or do you have any volunteering opportunities for after my clinicals? Can I just hang out with you guys and help out? That kind of thing. They like that, the eagerness of that. And it does expose you to those kind of opportunities to see that you're interested. And sometimes by the end of your program, you'll get a job offer. Sometimes you won't, but at least you've started. I think after when I graduated, I was on the hunt for a job. I did the traditional and non-traditional routes of getting a job because I knew I wanted to work in the operating room. So
Mhm.
I even if the people that I've contacted didn't get me into where they were working, they contacted other people at other hospitals on my behalf. So
So let's
m
talk
just
about that.
me.
You hitting some gems right now. Let's talk about no, because there's strategy to this. Things don't just fall
There
in
is.
our laps. Things are
Yes.
not don't just fall on our laps. So let's talk about the grind and the strategy, the conventional and unconventional approaches you took to get into that
Oh,
specific
yeah.
area. Please.
Like I said earlier, because OR nursing is so specialized, they don't even like really encourage a new graduate to enter into it. At least at the time and you're talking 2010, like at the time I was trying to. Maybe nowadays they're a little bit more open, if that student is capable or that graduate is capable of onboarding that. But at the time, it was encouraged for us to go to like a typical nursing unit floor, a med surge floor, where you do practice all of the things you learned in nursing school. But I knew the goal I had for myself and what I wanted. And the opportunity was available, and that opportunity was a residency program for graduate nurses where they hire you and you go through a they teach you go through a didactic and clinical course teaching you how to be an OR nurse, things you didn't really learn in nursing school. You learn the basics, the foundation, but to specifically do OR nursing for the job, you have to go through a resident, and that's every unit. They kind of offer that for new graduates. It's up to a year, as little as 6 months, but that's when you're more cradled into the job. But just to find that, I would see it online. I would submit my resume, but you kind of have to understand you're one of maybe 200 or 500 people applying for this, for like maybe 10 slots. So how can you stand out? How can you be different? And keep in mind, I was in South Georgia, so I was applying to a residency program at the hospital that was in Atlanta because I wanted to go back to the city. I wanted to be closer to my parents. So I didn't do schooling around that area. So how could I have stood out in a way that they would see me, for what regardless of my good grades or any volunteer work that I did on campus. But it wasn't anything that was near them or on their unit or their, I didn't do my shadowing there. So I would get names, find out, I would just go up straight to the hospital, find the name of the person in charge of the residency program. I went to her office uninvited, spoke, and I went during lunchtime, which unfortunately I missed her, but her secretary was there. I had my resume in hand, I had my cover letter in hand, I had things that I did, and projects that I worked on when I was in the nursing program. I wanted them to visually see me because at that time, that was a time of submitting application just like now online, which, my mom's time, I heard, you used to go in person to apply for a job and get and give your resume. So I kind of wanted to feed back off of that because that gave an opportunity for them to visualize you where you may not see who you're reading if you read their resume online. So going in person, my the secretary was like, you can just apply online. I was like, yeah, I did. I just wanted to meet everyone or meet the person in charge of the residency program and let her know how excited I am to want to join and want to, work at this specific hospital on this specific unit. So she gave me my information, and I heard nothing. I went home, heard nothing for the next few days. I was like, okay, I need a plan B. So I looked at another hospital and their operating room unit and their residency program. And the only thing, it was about an hour away from the house. So I drove an hour, got up in the morning, looked like I was about to go for an interview, dressed the part, and had my another printout resume in hand, cover letter in hand. Drove there to, hi, can I speak to the person in charge of the residency program? They're like, who are you? Where do you come from? And I gave her my name, and she was like, I'm sorry, we missed the date for accepting any new people. But she was able to send my name back to the location that I originally wanted. So that means that the lady that was in charge of the original place is the second time she's seeing my name. So she's like, this young lady is very determined. Oh, I didn't know you do a piece up that the balloons come. So I go back to my house, and by the time I go back to my house, I get an email inviting me to not necessarily the residency program, but just a meet and greet. So I guess to kind of fill out people to see if they know what they're applying for. And I almost was kind of I was just very happy, but then I was like, what am I applying for? Do I know what kind of job position, what they truly do in the OR? Because I only spent about 2 hours that day. So I used my best tool that I had, which is Google Internet. I looked up the role of what it was to be our official title is a circulator in the OR, what that truly means, and to find keywords that would let them know that I've been doing my research, even if I have zero experience. So I did that. I forced myself to write out a whole full page of what the role entitles. I went on the website, saw the role of what they're looking for, and wrote that down and learned and made that a part of my um, was it vocabulary or verbiage? I don't know. So now when I'm talking, I sound like at least I know what I'm talking about. And so I went for the meet and greet. There was some speeches, met some people who work in the OR, some educators and some managers, other people who are interested, other students, graduates. And then at the end of the meet and greet, they all passed out a paper in this auditorium and said, write down what you think it means to be a circulator or working in the OR. And I remember I filled that paper from top to bottom because I Googled the night before. Whereas some of the people around me, I noticed that they could barely write more than a few sentences, but that also saved me. And I was able to get a phone call back for an interview, for a panel interview. Also nerve-wracking when you walk in and see like 7 people interviewing you. This is my like first real job. And I usually get one-on-one interview maybe for a small job that I have. I think my previous jobs I've had were like the pharmacy tech, like small jobs that were a quick hire. But this was my first and my most serious job, obviously after college, after graduating. And I looked up tips about interviewing because you don't learn that too much about how to interview, how to ask questions back, how to answer them, how to answer what may seem like a negative question, or like when they ask you what are your weaknesses, how do you answer in a way that makes you look like you can problem solve at the end of the day, because they know nobody's perfect. I would say stuff like I may have issues delegating because I like full control of my operating room. I like to know where things are, what is happening. And if I know that I did it, I know that it's done. Or if it's not done, I can take full responsibility about any issues that have failed in the operating room or during surgery. But when I delegate, I kind of have to trust someone else to take on that and know the job was done. So I answer questions in that way, which is a fair and understandable way, where someone else can understand that, you're still human at the end of the day, but you always have a fail-safe plan, those type of things. And so as well as just what you do after an interview. You know, you follow up, you say thank you for your time. You always want to stick out because you're one of like how many candidates for a role. I had to
Yeah.
look all that stuff up. Like I just wanted to be. Um, I think my theme back then was just trying to be perfect and like knowing that I've done everything I could do. You know, it's one thing that you don't get a job and you didn't you didn't do all the things you could have, you didn't go the extra mile or you didn't look stuff up when you could. So those are the things that saved me throughout my career. And then eventually I did get the job. I was one of 10 people. We were 10 of us that were chosen out of maybe 70 or so
Mhm.
people that were interested. So yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
was a good feeling.
That is an awesome, and thank you for sharing that story. You know, those nuggets, those tactics that no one directly told you, but you knew just from your, knowing that how do I stand out? How do I get to this niche role? And then
Yeah,
coming prepared, Google using the freest resource that we can find, using Google and every step of the way. I love how you talked
yeah,
about from doing the research beforehand, practicing the interview questions that you may be asked, but also being prepared with
yeah,
questions that you want to know. Because again, they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing them. Is this something that
yeah,
you really
definitely.
want to do? This niche
For sure,
area, right?
for sure,
And
for sure.
to follow up. You sent follow up emails or follow up letters thanking them for creating a space or taking the time to hear about how your talents, will mesh well with what they're looking for. Phenomenal, phenomenal.
Exactly,
And I'm not
exactly.
surprised
And
each
with
one of
a bow tie of a prayer, because I also believe as a Christian woman, nothing should be done without, God's
yes,
intervention. And
you
with
did your
prayer,
part and you let
we come from
go.
and I let go, knowing that I did my part and God takes control and you can move forward. I remember even just a personal thing that I did. In my family, we grew up fasting and praying. I fasted and prayed for the job. I also knew how much I wanted to make at the time. Sometimes there's a way that you challenge God and tell him your dream and your goals and what you want. There's a number I had back then. Back then, that was, I laugh at the amount, but it was like $23 an hour that I really wanted to make. I wrote down the $23 on a piece of paper, covered it up, prayed about it. And when I say HR called me and offered me that $23 an hour, I never even said it. But funny enough, that was what I was like, dang, maybe I should have said like 28.
That's what I was just
But
about
back
to
then, that was a lot for me.
That's what I was just about to say. But look at the power of the tongue, and
Oh,
how
yes,
we manifest
definitely.
things. You spoke it into existence. You went
And wrote
for
it
it,
down.
and you
Yes.
fasted and prayed. You leaned on your faith, and look what happened.
Oh, yes, most definitely. It
This
was a
is
very monumental part in my life and let me know that if anything, God is watching what I'm doing and the efforts. So for anybody listening, you feel like you're getting a bunch of no's or closed doors, God is watching and maybe there's a closed door for a reason.
yes, amen. Oh, thank you. All right. So thank you everyone who's just joining in. I saw the numbers tick up as you were giving your testimony. I'm going to call it a testimony.
Definitely.
Thank you all so much. You are here with Coach Stella and registered nurse Angie as we talk and unpack her career as a
Most
registered
definitely.
nurse. I am doing this summer series where every Thursday during the lunch hour or pre-lunch hour, we're going to start and talk through all individuals' career journeys, the good, the bad, the ugly, the embarrassing, the strategies, and all the things that they've done to get to where they are. I want to remind folks that we have at Diversity at Workplace, we have a grassroots initiative going on right now. I'm going to put this QR code on the screen, right here. If folks can just log in, sign a petition. This is a grassroots effort that we're doing to send a message to all leaders and leaders and organizations that where we work and where we shop matters. And so it is important that for everyone to be seen, valued, and heard in the workplace, we must keep diverse, equitable, and inclusive initiatives alive and well to make sure all employees are not just surviving, but thriving in the workplace. So go on and sign this petition. It is confidential, but for each signature milestone we hit, we will be sending letters off to CEOs and leaders within different organizations. All right. So we have about 9 minutes left, NG. I want to talk through where you are now in your career. So this was back in early 2010s and 20 teens.
Yeah. Yes. So
So
to fast forward, yeah,
yeah,
I
so
stayed at
talk
the
about
job for like about 5 years, and at the time, I was kind of conflicted about what I wanted to do, like what's next. I've kind of mastered my skill set, and do I want to hit a managerial role, or do I want to go back to school? And in the world of nursing, you can do all of those things. Or do I was also presented with another opportunity of the world of being a travel nurse. So I knew that I wanted more funds. I wanted more experience of way of doing what I was doing, but different areas. And I was young, I was single, I was able to move around. So I seized the opportunity of becoming a travel nurse, quit my job. Also, a very tough thing to do when you've been there 5 years. You've learned, you've grown, and leaving that comfort zone where you were. And I entered the world of travel nursing. And what they don't tell you about travel nursing, like you're kind of on your own, just finding accommodation and entering a new city, a state. You're moving state to state, and you're kind of starting afresh, meeting a new team of people, of coworkers that you work for, and it's usually 3 months at a time, but they can renew your contract continuously for up to a year at the same location.
okay.
And that's what would happen. And I would, when it was time for me to move on to a new state, I did that. So I did that for about 5 years through COVID as well, which was also an interesting time. through
Yeah.
a through a wedding, engagement, a wedding, and having my first child. I was a travel contract through all of this, and I got to a point from wanting to have different experiences and making money to, or do I want to be more at home with my family, or just a little bit of both, and while having that stability. Because as much as travel nursing was fun, it was kind of it could be unstable sometimes, because you're
Mhm.
constantly looking for work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So, at one point, travel nursing fit your lifestyle at the time. You did that for 5 years, and in that 5 years, you accrued a family. And
Yeah.
so, let's talk about the shift. Where are you now in your career, and how does that align with your work life balance?
So I've signed up at a hospital downtown here in Texas, and I just work. I knew I wanted to work and still have some time for home life as well, because now I have two children. And prior to that position that I signed up, I'm permanent now, so I'm no longer a travel nurse. And I was at home for about 2 years. I was pregnant and having my newborn, so no working, no job. My husband
Mhm.
was taking on the bills for us, and you kind of miss work. As the first couple months of staying at home is great, you get to do what you need to do and do domestic work, but then you kind of miss people, and you miss working, and you miss skill set and striving, and having that other kind of purpose every day. So I was
Mhm.
back to that and finding my niche, because I do realize I do like some type of work, and people and having that career at hand. So I work 3 days a week. I am working as a nurse still in the operating room, and I am still able to do things at home and have that family life that I want. And I precept at my job, meaning I'm able to teach other nurses who are new to our team, and they shadow me, and I show them the highlights of the great of what it's like working in the OR, and those who are newly hired, we train them and get them ready to work as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. It's work-life balance. I know some folks see it as a myth, or an
oh, it's very
idealism, but
possible.
it's very possible. Yes, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that. All
yes.
right. So if there are any questions, I don't see questions on any of the screens I'm looking at, but audience, if there are any questions you have for registered nurse NG, please send them my way. With the 4 minutes remaining, let's get you off the hot seat. Let's get
Ooh.
some energy in the room. I have some what I like to call some spitfire questions, the top of mind thinking questions for you. Okay,
Sounds good. I'm
you
ready.
ready? Okay.
Yes.
Right. So the first question is, if you did not have to work, what would you spend your 50 hours a week doing?
It would definitely be helping people. I find a reward in helping people, and maybe in masses, like groups of people constantly, maybe volunteer type of things, maybe a group of school of children, homeless. It would be definitely in that and the max capacity at a time. And
Yeah,
getting other people, recruiting other people to help me help people.
well, I
Most
love that.
definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So some type of philanthropic work. All
For
right.
sure.
What was your last touch grass moment?
How do you mean touch grass?
So touch grass for me is any type of adventure outdoors. You know,
Okay.
we're still in this era where people are still afraid to go outside. So what was your last touch
Oh,
grass moment?
I would say, uh, I probably just hiking in my neighborhood, like our hiking trails, and just sometimes you don't know what you have in your own backyard. I was like, let's go outside. I live in Houston, Texas, and it is hot. I'm talking over 90, 95, 100 degrees on any given day. We have entered our summer period, and usually nobody goes outside here in Texas in the summertime. But I woke up early one morning with the kids, and I said, let's just be outside and enjoy our sun and walk around the neighborhood and some of our trails that they have. So it was nice.
Awesome.
Get our
Yeah,
vitamin D for the day.
vitamin D, but Houston, y'all get a lot of that vitamin D. I hear.
Too much of that. Yes.
All right, and speaking, so I know you are a Georgia peach living in Houston, so I gotta
Yes.
ask, as far as entertainment, food, hospitality, who does it better?
Oh, that's a good question. Houston might have better food variety. This is a food city for sure. Fun and entertainment. It's Houston has fun and entertainment, but you just have to know how to find it for yourself. I think maybe Atlanta has more variety. Day fun as well as night fun, where Houston may be mainly night fun. And I'm in my motherhood phase where I can't be out late. I like some daytime fun too, some outdoorsy type, festival kind of thing, which I miss in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Um, I miss Stone Mountain in Atlanta, just climbing the mountain. It was just like 20-minute drive. I miss that a lot. But yeah, Houston is all right. I would still say Atlanta. It's my city. It's what I know.
Yeah, born and bred.
Yeah,
I don't
born and
doubt it. I
bred.
don't doubt it. Well, Angie, believe it or not, that is our time. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me on your platform. Wish
And
you nothing but the best.
absolutely. And I hope that doing this interview, you were able to take a step back and see, look at all that I created and done that has manifested into where you are today. So
Yes.
I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the pure joy that I saw in your face as you were telling your story. And so thank you so
Yeah.
much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to give your journey narrative to the folks out there. If folks have any
Thank you so
questions
much.
about NG's journey, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to
Yes.
connect you to her so you can learn more.
Yes.
All
Most
right.
definitely.
And
Thank you so
listen,
much.
no problems. I want to remind the viewers next Thursday we are off in celebration and observance of Juneteenth, but we will be back the following Thursday, June 26th, with our next guest, who is, I won't give any spoilers out there, but you won't want to miss that guest. The other thing I want to plug for us is you heard all these different nuggets and strategies that NG went through, and the biggest thing I want to highlight is that no one told her. She did it herself. We have this workshop coming up about power moves, how to advance in your career, all the hidden gems and nuggets you need to make that next move in your career. To scan this QR code, learn more about it. What's coming in is virtually on Wednesday, July 23rd. Tickets are on sale now. Grab your virtual seats if you are ready to take that next step in your career, and or if you've hit any pitfalls, burned bridges, what have you, and you want to rebound from that. This workshop is for you. So if it's for you, if you know someone, please pass it on. If you have any more questions after looking through the tickets, please feel free to reach out. All right. And with that, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on June 26th. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Awesome. Bye. Thank you.
Mhm.